What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here to preview this pretty get your popcorn ready type of game, because this is what I love about the NFL. Every single Sunday, and producer Coop's a big college guy, and I love college football, but NFL is king, because here's why. Even when 2-1 Broncos take on a winless Raiders team, the storyline is there, and that is Josh McDaniels as a head coach facing his former team, the Denver Broncos. So, no reason to explain the backstory behind this. If you know, which all Broncos fans know, McDaniels is an utter fraud, and it's pretty fun to see him not only be an 0-3 coach right now, but with the Las Vegas Raiders of all teams. So, if you think Josh McDaniels is a fraud, spam F down in the comment section below. Just light it up down there. Let him know that we are not forgetting what an absolute disaster of a coach he was for the Broncos and really put this team in a tough spot for some future years. So spam F down below in the comments section. Now, before we get to injury report and keys to victory and all that good stuff, I wanted to share some of the fun McDaniels stories I saw on Twitter over the last couple of days. So we're going to start it off with Tyler Columbus, a former Bronco player, UDFA out of CU, who won the Super Bowl with the team in 2015. And he was actually with 104.3 The Fan, you might remember, up until recently. But he put out an interesting thread, and I took some of my favorite snippets from it. Allow me to share. So, in honor of Raiders Week 1, I present a thread about my favorite Hurricane Josh McDaniels stories. Not a good time for Hurricane jokes. Naughty Tyler. After trading away the young nucleus of our offense, including Jay Cutler, Josh said to the entire team, "Fellas, don't worry about the QB situation. I can turn a high school quarterback into an all-pro." Yeah, Kyle Orton was all-pro. So, here we go. Some of my favorite parts of this thread. After completing training camp with a padded two-a-days as often as was legal, he hyped up a special reward after practice. It was an ice cream truck and a t-shirt that said Iron Man. Our reward was ice cream. Thanks for the creamsicle. This is kind of like in The Office when Michael made the big promise of we're going to have a trip, and then he wanted to see if they can go down to the mine shaft, and he's like, are there any, is there putt-putt golf down there? And then he said, all right, can you guys just pick us up and take us to Atlantic City? It's all paid for. And then he got ice cream sandwiches for everyone. Now, more from this thread here. After the season, I had an exit interview with my coach. He spent 10 minutes telling me everything I sucked at, but he looked so depressed and miserable that when he was done, I didn't care what he said about my play. I was concerned for him. Coach, are you all right? Response, that's a hard man to work for. Me? So are you coming back? Coach, hell no. Me? You are getting fired or leaving? Coach, I don't care, but I'm getting the hell out of here. McDaniels not only lost the locker room, but clearly his own coaching staff, which is always weird. It's kind of like when Urban Meyer lost his coaching staff. You don't have a say in your own staff? Now, we have more examples of how McDaniels was a complete fraud for the Broncos over a decade ago, but it doesn't feel that long. RK from DNVR with this tweet about some funny McDaniels stories. A lot of Josh McDaniels stories came out after he left Denver. Here's one of the craziest ones I heard, as it was told to me from a few people. Thread. During a coaches meeting, McDaniels posed a question. If you won the Powerball today, would you come back to work tomorrow? Now, at the time, the Powerball was one of the highest payouts ever. One by one, McDaniels pointed around the room, getting an answer from each of his coaches. Knowing how crazy he was, many coaches knew what to say. Yes, 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 yes. But one highly respected veteran coach didn't feel like playing this game, saying something along the lines of, I think with that kind of money, I would retire and finally spend time with my family. McDaniels lost it, berating the coach and only being in coaching for money, not truly loving the game, and even threatening to fire him on the spot. It was just one in a long line of things that caused Josh McDaniels to not only lose just the locker room, but the whole building. And McDaniels, one of those kind of young and upping offensive geniuses, and then you forget, when you're a head coach of an NFL team, you are a leader of men. It is not just about X's and O's. And McDaniels, he was good at X's and O's in New England, but can he control a locker room? Those are a couple pretty funny and pretty stellar Josh McDaniels stories from his time in Mile High. If you've got any of your own, light up the comment section. I think we could all enjoy a nice laugh in looking at some of the best McDaniels stories of just how insane he was as a head coach. All right, let's get into the injury report before any keys to victory. Middle of the weekish, right as we record right now, so this is going to be fluid as we get closer to Sunday. Melvin Gordon with a neck injury, Tyrie Cleveland with a hamstring, Risner with an ankle, Turner. The slogan has been get him over the hump. I don't know how high this hump is, but it doesn't feel like it's going to get done anytime soon. Quinn Meinerz, I expect him to go. He was an emergency player this past Sunday. Hopefully he's ready to go with this hamstring injury. DJ Jones, he has not practiced at all this week with a concussion. Feels like it might be more Mike Purcell, although he is on the injury report with a neck injury. Jonathon Cooper with a hammy, Caden Stearns with a hip, and PJ Locke with an ankle. Not overly concerned for anyone other than Billy Turner and DJ Jones, and maybe Dalton Risner as well. All right, now, some keys to victory for the Broncos. Going against their rival, who has had a lot of success against the Broncos, winning 7 of the last 10, a couple sweeps the last few seasons, but hopefully Broncos country can enjoy a win this Sunday and be in the win column and 3-1, and also have the Raiders be 0-4. Sorry, I feel like I sound super nasally, a little under the weather today. Keys to victory. Hackett out-coach McDaniels. These two coaches are, of all the new head coaches, probably on the hottest of seats at the moment, right? Not getting off to the start everyone would have hoped for. Just do a better job for what you can control Hackett. Here are some necessary improvements, in my opinion. You got to get the play calls into Russ quicker. You got to be more decisive. This goes for the entire coaching staff. Know what you want to do before the situation arises, right? It's one of those things of, hey, it's 1st and 10. If we get 5 yards here and it's second and manageable, what do we want to do, right? Or if we go for a loss on this play or just a game of 1 or something, what is the next step? Be thinking down the line. Better in early downs, okay? The Broncos, we outlined this in our video yesterday. You can go ahead and watch it. Link is in the comments for that video. But we did a bit of a film breakdown, and the Broncos need to be better early downs, which is a very stereotypical kind of cliche thing to say, but it really applies for this team where they are struggling to move the football down the field the last 2 weeks. A lot of success in week 1. You also played better teams the following 2 weeks. The Raiders defense, it's not the Seahawks defense. You got to be better in early downs. Stop putting yourself in a hole on 3rd down. And by the way, no meltdowns in either half for the Broncos. Allow me to illustrate this. PMT, Big Cat, over at Barstool, made a great observation earlier this week. The Raiders have good and bad halves this season. On the left is their good halves through 3 weeks. On the right is their bad halves through 3 weeks. In week 1, they outscore the Chargers 16-7 in the second half. In week 2, in half number 1, outscored the Cardinals 20-0. In week 3, in the second half, outscored the Titans 12-0. They are just Jekyll and Hyde with themselves. It's not even consistent slow starts or poor finishes. It's been up and down. In the bad halves, week 1 against the Chargers, outscored 17-3. Against the Cardinals in the second half, gave up 23 points and then they lost in overtime. First half against the Chargers, against the Titans in week 3, 24-10. The bad halves have outweighed the good halves, though. That's why this team is 0-3. Now, speaking of the Raiders, we are in a sub-battle right now with the Raiders report here. We are very close, by the way, to getting the spatula out and slapping Mitch across the face. We got to get some more subs, though. We got to win this sub-battle if we want to do that. So hit that big red button if you hate the Las Vegas Raiders. Oakland Raiders, LA Raiders. Whenever you became a Broncos fan, wherever the Raiders were, hate them, subscribe. Key to victory, number 2. Force Vegas to run the football. They have not been efficient at doing so. And so what does this mean? You need a big day from the corners. Patrick Surtain, Ronald Darby, this entire secondary has to put a lot of pressure on the Raiders to want to avoid going through the air and try and pick up some, I would say, absolute yardage, right? When you run the football, you know you're going to get something. Whether it's good or bad, at least it's not going to be incomplete. Now, Josh Jacobs this season for Vegas has not been called on a whole lot. 42 carries, 192 yards, hasn't even found the end zone. In fact, the Raiders have not scored one rushing touchdown all season long. Pretty incredible stuff right there. So basically, do not let the Raiders beat you through the air. They have been one-dimensional on offense so far. You have to keep that in mind, and you have to force them to go to the ground here. So far this season, the Raiders 11th in points per game with just over 3 touchdowns. They have been much better passing the ball. 7th in the NFL, 266.7 yards. But on the ground, just 80 yards a contest. That's good for 28th in the NFL. Make Josh Jacobs and this ground game beat you, which is going to be a challenge because the Broncos' run defense hasn't been the worst, but it hasn't been the best. Third and final key to victory. Get after Derek Carr. This kind of feeds into key to victory number 2 right here, where if the Raiders, and they are going to try to pass the football, big day for Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory. Now, Bradley Chubb has never sacked Derek Carr in his entire career. What a good time to get your first sack against a team he said, I hate this upcoming Sunday. Carr this season has been Derek Carr. This is exactly what I would expect, right? 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He can move the ball down the field. He can get some garbage time stuff as well. Is he ever going to put on Superman's cape and be the hero? Probably not. Now, he's also been a bit of a Bronco killer-ish. 9-6 in his career against Denver. 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 232 yards per game. And so that is why I am calling on the Broncos front 5 right now to have a big game. Really looking at 2 guys, Chubb and Gregory. Draymond Jones and Deshaun Williams have been pretty quiet to start this season. How about they make their footprint on the 2022 campaign by going after Derek Carr and this Raiders front 5 offensive line and winning the battle in the trenches. That's going to do it for us on today's Broncos Breakdown. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, making us a part of your day. We'll let you guys go off and enjoy the start of your weekend and hopefully a Broncos victory this Sunday. But if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe.